Can a flute from ancient Japan improve your climbing or even your life? Let's talk about it. All right, welcome back to the Go to Zero channel. My name is Ben, and if you've been following me for a minute, or if you're new here, I spend a lot of time doing intense sports. I do rock climbing, running, paddleboarding, martial arts. I've done a lot of things. Any good workout needs a good recovery. And honestly, there's a lot of research that supports that. A theme I've seen in a lot of recent videos is this idea about effective recovery. So there are things that can harm recovery. Now, I don't want to rehash what others have already said on this. I think there's a lot of good videos. But let me simply summarize that active rest days and helping the body and mind truly relax, usually without social media, leads to better recovery. So it's in the spirit of recovery that I want to get into a little bit of a new series, explore more of what, well, I'm finding effective for my recovery and honestly my life. Since this is going to be the introductory episode, we are going to have to go into some fine details about some of my life for the past few years that I don't really share. Anybody that's really spent time around me probably can tell you I have been interested in Japan for a really long time. Now, I'm not saying it's a perfect culture, but they definitely have some good things going on and have some really interesting history. Just like anybody that gets into that, I ended up going into the martial arts to study more the way of the samurai. For me, that was the Bujinkan. Having this study of the martial arts eventually led me to a flute. And, you know, this flute is really interesting because it was historically played by warriors and even monks seeking to find enlightenment. And that flute was called the shakuhachi. The shakuhachi, it's a 5-hole end-blown Japanese flute. There are records of this flute actually going all the way back to China, but it definitely evolved into its current form in Japan. With the introduction of various modulations of breath, head position, it can be argued that the shakuhachi is one of, if not the most difficult wind instrument in the world. Now, the name is lesser known than the sound. There are actually numerous lengths, different keys, and sometimes even different materials used. In addition to different materials, there are different construction methods that can produce different qualities of sound, and of course there are different qualities of makers out there. Towards the later half of the Edo period in Japan, this flute was widespread in its use amongst a group of monks called the Komuso. And as they operated as a sect of Zen Buddhism approved by the shogunate during that time. There is actually a lot of debate about the history of the Komuso and their sui Zen or blowing Zen. And a teacher in my lineage, Riley Lee, he actually wrote a whole dissertation on that if you want to take a look. But that said, the concept of Zen and playing this particular flute definitely connect and go a ways back. So how does this all connect to me? Well, I actually started playing the shakuhachi several years ago and started learning under a Grandmaster teacher, Steve Kochiku Casano. It's really been fun training with him and learning, and I really want to emphasize that point that I'm still very much a student in this space. But I will leave a link to Steve's channel down below. You can hear some of his recordings, and there's also ways to get in touch with him if you're interested in training and learning more about the flute. Honestly, the reason I'm talking about this now is because I've had a little time to settle, just got back from the World Shakuhachi Festival, and I can arguably say it's one of the best times of my life. In addition to getting to train with my teacher, Steve, I also got to train with one of his teachers, Master Ishikawa, who I will hopefully also be training with when I go to Japan. I also got to train with Grandmaster Riley Lee and several others, just too many to name at this point. An amazing experience. So just wanted to give a little info about my background. Again, I am a student in this space, but the connection between the martial arts history that I love to get into and the history of the shakuhachi, the pieces, everything like that, drew me to it. All right, so how does this flute connect to recovery? Well, there's actually a couple of interesting ways. I want to start off with talking about some research that I'm just going to put the articles down below that talk about the value of different breathing exercises, both in building breath capacity, which is very important, but also in relaxing the nervous system. The most obvious thing is the embouchure that we use when playing the shakuhachi, because it is a very thin embouchure. You're blowing very little breath, and the breath takes a very long time. So it's a very slow breathing method. But there's more than just that. Anybody that's played pretty much any wind instrument can tell you there's a second part to that, which is diaphragmatic breathing. Right, so breathing through the diaphragm, which you also see in the martial arts through the hara, as they call it. And this is a really important secondary piece because you're combining two very powerful types of breath control together, which I think has an even more effective calming feeling. This is actually going to be a series of videos, and I'm looking to explore a little beside just the climbing, right? I'm getting into the world of this shakuhachi flute and my journey to learn it, as well as the connected interest that I think could benefit others. All right, so there's another aspect of this series that I want to get into, which is a bit of a partnership that's coming up out of it, and excitedly allows me to dig in and make this more available for everybody. Many of you may not want to or may not have the funds to get a Japanese shakuhachi flute, and for those folks, we have the Komuso shift. Now, Komuso is a company named after the Komuso monks that I mentioned earlier, and they took this idea of breathing and they made it into a pendant form. The idea is this one makes no sound, and it is supposed to still provide a lot of the resistance, things like that. I like it because it looks like a shakuhachi. It has a little bit of the design to it, so to me it has a double meaning. So I think this is going to be a wonderful alternative for those who might be interested in some of the benefits. So I have to disclose here, Komuso sent me the shift totally free once I reached out to them, and I've wanted to work with them for a while because I love the idea, I love the background behind this, but you're also going to get an unbiased review because at the end of the day, they didn't ask me to say anything about this. They just sent it to me. So I am going to be including an affiliate link down below for Komuso. It does help the channel, but it also gets you a discount. So hey, it's win-win for both of us. All right, so we're going to get into the unboxing now. So there's a little, kind of looks like almost a poem on the inside. 23,000 breaths per day. That's 23,000 chances to make a change. To breathe with intention, to bring calm to the mind and body. I like it. So it's kind of hard to show. I'll try to get that a little close to the camera there. All right, so 2 weeks with the Komuso shift. What are my big takeaways? All right, so the first thing I'm going to say about the shift is it is a physical reminder to breathe. And for somebody with ADHD, I mean, out of sight, out of mind. So this really helps me to remember to breathe throughout the day. Now, another thing that stands out to me is the construction materials. It looks really nice. It feels good. It's not too heavy. And the quality of everything from the chain to the device itself, I would honestly consider getting more from this company. I've done a lot of different breathing techniques, you know, pranayama, ancient Japanese breathing techniques, just so many different things. I couldn't even list them all. The effect of doing this breath exercise, it's kind of hard to convey. So I want to talk about where is this working for me? Well, honestly, at work. I really find it nice because I have it there and I can just take a deep breath during the day before I go into a meeting or into a focused project. And I notice that just after a few breaths, maybe 1, 2, even 3 breaths, I'm more focused. I'm able to stay in the moment better. And honestly, my mood is more stable throughout the day. All right, so who would I recommend this to? Well, in this case, anybody that wants to be able to calm down quickly, relatively discreetly. The shift itself, which is this model, can be used in a lot of spaces. For example, you could be preparing to enter a range, right? Breathing can be important for pretty much any ranged weapon, you know, pistols, bows, what have you. They could also be between sets at the gym, right? They make a more rugged version of this, and that can take your heart rate down, especially between different exercises. That can be very useful for some exercise methodologies. And I could also see this tool being used in a lot of other kind of sports and activities where calming the mind and the body, focus are beneficial, and you're staying in that low BPM space. I'm also going to recommend shakuhachi players. Definitely take a look at the Komuso website. I mean, they have obviously the shift product and things like that, which can be a little bit useful, but there's also a lot of great pendants and other things that they have going on that also point to the great shakuhachi tradition, of which I am just so fortunate to be a part. And so are there places where I wouldn't recommend the shift? Actually, yes. So I wouldn't wear this model climbing. Now, I say that, I could see some people using this for roped climbing, especially if it was the active model. I think it's called the active shift. Ultimately, most of the science that I know having to do with bouldering, you don't want to necessarily get your heart rate too far down. So I think using this between climbs would be rather cumbersome. And of course, using it on the climb, forget about it. And I would say similarly with running, right? It may not be beneficial. If you were doing some kind of interval training and trying to take the heart rate down though, between runs or sprints or something like that, again, it would be very beneficial. I would also just be really careful about this. It's more of a before and after product in terms of exercise, but at work, if you're gonna use this in an office, just make sure you connect with your boss on that first so that they know what it is and what you're doing. Just my suggestion to avoid misunderstandings. Does this affect my shakuhachi playing? No, not really. And I don't mean that in any negative way. What this is trying to do, and the training and the embouchure in a shakuhachi is much more precise and focused than even what this is. So I definitely still have to play the shakuhachi to train the shakuhachi, but it is a nice reminder. For me, I mean, there is a small connection in terms of the calming effect of the shakuhachi and the calming effect of the Komuso. I think they've nailed that piece, but I would not tell you that it's going to make you a better player. I just want to be clear on that. See, this is a channel that does focus on minimalism, and I do have to talk about the price, right? Because some of these items do get up there. Is it fair? Honestly, yeah. You know, the materials are not really the core of the argument. I think there's more the idea, the quality control. They really seem to support their product. So from what I can see about this company, they're honest in their mission and they're looking to help people. That to me does make the price worth it. And I noticed they do have several different price points for these as well on their website. So I would check that out. The classic shift to me just looks the coolest of them, and it's my favorite. But with that said, if it is a little bit of a problem for you, I also want to try to help out with that. I did get a discount code that is going to be down in the description. If you use that code, it also helps me a little bit, but hopefully that'll help some more people try out the Shift and other products like that. Thank you so much, Komuso, for sharing such a really fantastic product. In conclusion, I'm still gonna have to use my flute, which is okay. I wasn't planning on giving it up anytime soon anyway. I do want to say it is fascinating how the shakuhachi flute can evolve, thousands of years, and now it inspires something even new like what Komuso is doing. Hopefully you've enjoyed this deep dive into the connection between the Komuso as well as the history of the shakuhachi. But what are you interested to see in future episodes? Do we want to talk about the connection between the ninja, the samurai, and the shakuhachi? Is it made up? Can aluminum keep up with bamboo in terms of sound and real concert quality instruments? I mean, there's actually so many ways that we could take this series, and I'm really curious to see what everybody's interested in, and of course, only time will tell. That said, let's not take any more time. Don't forget to like and subscribe down below so that you can catch more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching, and be well.